Devon.
What's up?
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Good. Nice to have you on the show with us.
I love being a guest on podcasts just as much as I like running them.
No kidding. Well, people may not know this, but I was a guest, at least we recorded
That's right.
earlier this week for me to be on your podcast, which is a big honor for me because you run the construction industry podcasts already. I'm just a little guy doing cabinets, but you're the whole enchilada.
Well, thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So for those of you listening to this podcast right now, know that you can watch it as a video if you want to see it at your desk on YouTube. And we also transcribe these interviews so that you can read it and take notes and maybe share it with a business partner, or if it's a family business with other people in the family. But Devon, I asked Devon to be here because he runs the Art of Construction podcast. Devon, tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so I just launched our 100th episode, and so 4 years ago I was on a friend's podcast and started looking around what was out there, started listening to him, and I'm like, shoot, this is I loved talking about marketing outside the box, and I'm like, I'm just going to go for it. And a lot of reasons why I did it. It was to start, Devon Tilly needed to get himself more comfortable. I was trying to run a day-to-day business. I didn't have time for Toastmasters. I didn't have time for all these things, but apparently I thought I could make time to do all this, which I've learned podcasting is not easy. But I did the first 50 shows. I edited them all myself. I've learned how to get better at all the stuff. So I've truly learned that. And it was my own Toastmasters. I'd listen how lousy I sound. Maybe something I said was pretty good once in a while, and just been a student of the game. What the world calls the construction arena, I've always passionately called it the art of construction. It just took me 100 episodes of constantly learning and evolving and building my tribe.
Yeah. Now, just so that people who listen know this, to give it context, what piece of construction do you solve? Where does your company come in?
Yeah, so I like to say globally, we're the art of construction that is for contractors to grow their business. And that's for everything. And so it's been awesome getting to meet cool people like you that have a niche, podcast for your mill workers and the cabinet guys. But globally, I have the art of construction that I'm trying to connect the dots and be that connector all the way through. But when I started the art of construction, the first logo was my window and door company that started. I bought a little company in Denver, Colorado. That's where I'm sitting here today. I made a point to, I love to, when I'm getting interviewed, to leave the podcast studio, and I'm actually sitting right where my day-to-day business really got going. And this was the building I bought. I bought a little tiny window and door company called Mountain View Window Design after I had worked for the owner for 3 years, but there was no real estate. So I bought this piece of real estate and just been learning and growing ever since. So globally, I have the art of construction that Devon Tilly is in front of that, pulling it down to Mountain View Window and Door as a window and door luxury supplier in the Rocky Mountain region.
And so do you do wood windows and doors, vinyl? What's the angle on you take on windows?
Yeah, we really focus on luxury. So all of the luxury markets. So we lead with the Anderson family of brands. We don't manufacture. We have a big design center, and our trusted advisors is what we call them, which a lot of people call sales consultants. They're the quarterback, and they're working to understand. Majority of our business is in the high-end custom home market, B2B, speccing with architects and executing through contractors.
Great. And the good thing of that is I want our listeners to know that you understand the construction industry and the ins and outs and what it takes to find people in this market, what it takes to get a job, keep a job, manage deficiencies, get resales and repeat referrals. So I'm glad you have that background and that we're able to share it with everybody.
Cool.
So let me ask you this, because you've done 100 episodes of The Art of Construction. That's a lot of interviews.
That's right.
And you call the people who listen to your show your tribe.
That's right.
What are they asking for? What's their big need? What question are they looking to you for?
Well, it's focused to contractors. And I hate to say this, but contractors are not very good of communicating back and telling you what they need. they've been working. They're too busy. So they don't give you a lot of feedback. But one thing of working with them my whole career, I'm one of them. I've been boots on the ground. I do development projects and I've learned the art of construction my whole career. And it's hard. Construction is hard. And there's so many moving parts to it, but if you're into it, that's what makes it work. So I try to make it easy and learn and give and try to just make it easier. That's me.
Yeah. Make it easier. Now, do you make it easier through systems? Do you make it easier through, what's your tactic on that?
All the above, right? So it's all the different programs. Find one that works for you. For me, I use EOS, all the different systems out there, but, always be learning and take massive action and always be marketing is kind of what I tell myself all the time. And then it's going back to the beginning of taking the book that all of us entrepreneurs, if we've done it, and that's how we grow our business, is the Emyth Revisited by Michael Gerber. So just go in and do it and then build it. And then you just keep evolving over time. And then there's two things that currently the Devon Tilly leading the art of construction, all his brands, is laser focused on two things: technology and labor. Like that's what I'm putting everything to. And I say labor, but it really means people, because I say labor because that's what Krusty Contractor and that's what they call it.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, we're all building an informational platform. We're all just using a different thing. Day to day, it's for windows and doors for me. For you, it was your consulting business, cabinet podcast, all, listening and following you. But we're all trying to be an informational platform if you're really going to live the go-giver philosophy, in my point of view. And not just give to get, give to give, and it'll all come back around. And I think that's what I think a lot of us entrepreneurs that passionately love the art of construction are all about.
Yeah.
And one of my big projects I just wanted to put out there that I've really been fascinated about: technology and people. How do you put them together? And there's this crazy right now, I think we're coming up on this big disruptor of offsite construction and technology and supply chain and all those things. Look at a company like Katerra. I just had Mike Rock, the head of construction, on my System Build Lifestyle podcast. They are trying to change the whole game, but they're trying to do what Henry Ford did with automobiles a long, long time ago. So when you think about it that way, actually, when this goes live, it'll be after my grand opening. June 27th is my grand opening of a project where I'm taking all my lessons learned, putting them together in a place in Grand Junction, Colorado, that it all started. The story is, I owned a building with my parents. My boss's boss in the corporate world was my stepfather, Keith Hogsett, that raised me. And after his whole career being in the corporate world, working all the way up to the top, getting sold and sold and sold again, he just said, I'm done with it. And I said, we've owned this building. The tenant left. Why don't you just try Mountain View Window and Door in this little building and see if you like it? We freaking crushed it, man. And so he's having fun. I love it. and so we had this little building. He's like, Devon, we got to have a warehouse, like our delivery truck. I'm like, all right, let's go find a warehouse. But Devon doesn't just think warehouse. No. So Devon thinks, okay, he's liking it. He's got the hook. What should we do? And so I've been really following all the co-working out there. And so I've been to all the WeWorks and all these things. And I went from a 1,500 square foot building in Denver to buying this, where I'm here today, is the 10,000 square foot facility that we got the #1 design center from Anderson Windows a couple years ago. And I was going from one building to the next, right behind me.
Yeah.
And my real estate agent, I'm like, what's that building over there? He's like, Devon, your budget's in this 3,000. I'm like, he's like that. I said, I don't care. Give me the information. And comes to find out, it was a plumbing and hardware supplier. And I'm like, I can make this work, and I just got to get really creative. So I had 4 tenants at a buddy of mine that owned a gutter company, a kitchen company, and no business plan other than I want to grow from within. And one of my mentors, as my father-in-law, was a college professor and business coach. And he said, after I really worked hard, and I have a presentation that he got copyrighted in 1999 when it was really cool to do it on 2 overhead projectors. And he had all this stuff copyrighted that he had spent 25 years developing and executing what he called the full life perspective. And it's just a whole life of lessons learned put together that as I'm courting his daughter, he's put me through the full life perspective. and I didn't have a choice. I didn't, so I have to do it.
Especially
so he turned me into a reader, and he got me going on this whole thing. And I'll give you a little secret, tribe. It works. Like if you actually set a goal, have a system, write it down, do all the basic stuff, it works. So he got me on this full life perspective, and I'm really kicking ass at this. And then I was working, I was negotiating to buy the little window and door company, and the guy I was owning from, the competition, Pella, just kept recruiting me. And I'm like, God, we want to have kids. Should I go back in the corporate life? And it was the pivotal moment. He sat me down. He's like, Devon, you're an entrepreneur. Like, you don't do this. What do you really want to be in the window and door business? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, then let's go get you a building that you can grow into, and let's go buy that building and go kick ass. And that was the moment that put me on the map. So I tell you that, tribe, is like, it's not easy. You got to work hard, but then you got to surround yourself around good people that like, and trust to get you there. So he got me going here in Denver. Then my stepfather that got me into the business started working in our Grand Junction location. And then Grand Junction was very big on oil and gas. And now I went to college there, and I'm passionate about the Western Slope. It's the secret place of Colorado, the great college and healthcare and all these things.
Everything in Colorado is great. Everybody loves Colorado.
But Grand Junction, check it out. So when I get to the end of the story, hopefully you go check out Junction Station. So it's been this project that started from, we need a bigger warehouse, to there was all these big facilities, because it was an oil and gas dependent town. And now it's the hospital and the college and a bunch of people living there for the Colorado lifestyle. And they say it's the Colorado lifestyle that you don't know about. It's not Denver. And that's a whole battle that I get a kick out of 2 sides of the hill. It's been fun. So this big building came up, 2 buildings. And I'm like, Keith, I didn't know what I was doing in Denver, but I was pretty dang successful.
Yeah.
You want to do it with me in Grand Junction? And then I was like, well, I didn't know what I was doing, but I've been watching these co-working places and the design, there's all these podcasts. I've interviewed several of them, of design center meets co-working, and put a real effort on designing in a really cool layout of the people that make the design, the art of construction work.
Let me ask you this then, because people are listening to this as a podcast, even those watching it on YouTube. Paint a picture for us. What does it look like? What does a design center meets a co-working space look like?
www.jxnstation.com. And it has a lot of work.
That's the best answer there is. Go look at it on the website. Sorry, what is it again?
So the name is called Junction Station.
Yeah.
And the town of Grand Junction is where the Colorado River and the Gunnison River meet. So our thing is meet me at the junction. So it's JXN, and the X is where the 2 rivers come together. And so that was the impetus, and it's a fun story of how we came up with that name, if you want to talk about it. But I go rant on, and the Tasmanian Devon will find squirrel holes all day long, and I apologize.
No, that's good. Do me a favor though, because people are listening right now and they probably want to write this down. So what's that domain name one more time? JXN
Station.com.
Okay, so, JXNstation.com.
Yeah.
And for those of you listening, we'll have this in the show notes as well. So if you go look at the transcript and the back on the main Cabinet Maker Profit System website, that'll be in the show notes. Easy to find. Just click on the link. Sorry.
Yeah, and the website's rough. I tell people don't think too long about it. Don't make too many business plans. If you think it's going to work and you got a tribe that wants to go with you, go, man. Take massive action. So the website needs a lot of work. We're going to be doing updated videos, but the first videos were literally me just turning on YouTube and putting it out there. So it's there, and we're going to be building this community, working together. And it's because Mountain View couldn't afford to do what we do, couldn't make the design center it wanted, because it's a community that just didn't justify it. And was a whole bunch of other mountain views like that. So we got the local designer, CP Designs, is signed up. So she went from another place to it's unbelievable. She took all her furniture, built it all out. Some of the local contractors, where we have a local insurance agent. So all these people that work together, there's 11 offices and 3 conference rooms, and then a big place where we can have, it's called Schoolology, that has all these moving walls to where it's partitioned, or we can do it from 5 people meeting up to 500, and we all just come and meet at the junction.
That's great. That's great. Was this part of your EOS plan, by the way? Is that where you came to?
No, this was before EOS. So my implementer is like, oh my God, this guy's a lot to rein in. So
you are a lot. Yeah, you are.
That's where we're at.
Let me do this for a second, Devon, because we've dropped some acronyms on people. They might not know them. And so since you and I know them, let's develop that a little bit. So EOS stands for Entrepreneur Operating System. And that comes from a book called Traction by Gino Wickman, right?
Yep.
The other system, and the other one that I know really well, is called Mastering the Rockefeller Habits. And that's the name of the book. It's also the Rockefeller System, but it's also his latest book, which is Vern Harnish, is called Scaling Up. And both of those systems are excellent. I was actually just talking about it today with a family business owner. It's a dad. He's got 3 sons. They're all in their late 20s. And he's starting to bring them into the company now. And he realizes that he has a plan, but it's hard to take the dinner table into the office because all of the way that we've set around the dinner table now flows into the office. So he was talking to me about being the outside guy on purpose, bringing a strategic plan in so that it kind of leveled the playing field and everybody had, looked at me as the facilitator, even though that's what the dad wants. So there's 2 systems out there that are big strategic planning systems. I'm so glad to hear EOS, because it's excellent. And the other one is Rockefeller, and that's one I know really well.
Yeah, I'm knee deep in the trenches, and I'm learning how majority of these small business in the construction arena are started with family, like real family that's passed on and learned. And I'm no different than that. The difference for me is I worked before I bought out I worked for a husband-wife team and saw others. And so I'm the sole owner of Mountain View Window and Door, and everybody that's family are employees of mine. And I've always, passionately wanted to be the leader of the family, and I'm just push really hard and have just awesome people that make me who I am. But it's not easy when it's your sister or this person or your brother or that person or your dad or this person. That's real stuff, man. And you gotta, whoever the system, EOS this, Traction that, Rockefeller this,
doesn't matter.
Just get somebody that's not buried in the weeds of the business, that's just going to look at it as a business, because either you're a business or a hobby, and business make money. And the first 3 rules of business are never run out of cash, never run out of cash, never run out of cash. And that's really hard when you're weighing so much on your shoulders when you want to grow. And when you're thinking about it, if you have 3 sisters and 3 brothers and 10 other people, you're paying for 20 mortgages. Yeah. And if you're an entrepreneur, and that weighs on you really heavy.
Oh man.
You don't have somebody else that helps you with that. And I'm knee deep in that. And then, so I would passionately, Richard, my implementer at EOS, just cuts through it, and helps you get through it. And it's great. So you got to get people to come in. If you want to grow your business, it's a must. If you don't want to grow your business and be a solopreneur, hobby, fine.
Yeah.
Be yourself.
Fill your boots, as we say. Fill your boots.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing you mentioned that I really like is you mentioned a book called The Emyth Revisited.
That's right.
And now, again, for our listeners who may not have heard, this book's an oldie but a goodie. I mean, it is a Bible of business growth. The E stands for
entrepreneurial,
not e-commerce. A lot of people think it's e-commerce. What was your big takeaway from The Emyth Revisited?
When I originally read it was, set up your system like a franchise, even if you don't ever want to sell it.
Yes.
And that's the structure part that it resonates with entrepreneurs, because you're like, I don't ever want to sell my business. And they did it eloquently by saying that, because a lot of books they got to make it for a 3rd grader, because us entrepreneurs only take enough time to understand it as a 3rd grader. So that's what the book does. And But then it's fascinating how my father-in-law, I do this full life perspective presentation, and I've done it several times. I just did it for the whole Entree architect community. They do their virtual workshops, and it's every time I do it, my father-in-law did it for 28 years. And he said, Devon, it's unbelievable how 3% only take, you always got to have a call to action. You don't just give them, got to dangle the carrot.
Yeah.
Only 3% take that. Emyth's the same way. Unless you make somebody do it, there's just very few people that actually, a lot of people have read the book. How many people have actually went and done the org chart? I did all of that. I picked the colors, Mountain View purple. Bought all this. I just literally, there was 3 of us in the company. And I said, read this and be ready, because I don't know how, but this is telling me how. So we're doing everything in this. But that's kind of like scaling up. That's a great book, because you hit these ceilings, and you got to keep whatever makes you tick, keep going the books and always be learning. And I was not a reader until my father-in-law forced me. I was, I like magazines or audio books, or you make excuses.
I could see you as a teenager. You must have been fantastic showing up at the door for this guy's daughter.
That's right.
He just looked at you as a big old project.
That's right.
Hey, I'll tell you my experience with the book, The Emyth Revisited, because I've used the concepts from that now to build 2 multinational companies. I've sold 2 multinationals in the last 15 years. Both of them have been built on the premise of the Emyth. It's an excellent book, but I remember saying this to my wife when I first read it. I said, honey, this is the most painful book I've ever read. And my wife, Deidre, is very sweet, very quiet. She goes, well, why? I said, because I read a page and then I close the book and I slam it into my head. And then I open the book again, I read another page, and then I just bang it into, because it just showed like a massive beam of light for all the mistakes I'd been making up till then in business. Not to say I don't make them today, because I'm running a train sometimes of mistakes and trying to fix them, as we all are. That's the point. But boy, did that one ever. And it's an old book, and people think old books, it's old news. Give me the new stuff. That book is gold. That book's gold.
It's the foundation of small business.
Yeah. Yeah. So for everybody listening, it's called The Emyth Revisited: Why Most Small Businesses Don't Work and What to Do About It. It's written by a guy named Michael Gerber. You can find it on Amazon and everywhere.
And they make it so simple about it. Goes back to, I learned way more about my lawn mowing business that I started when I was 12 years old, and it paid for college. I ran the rugby team, and all the rugby guys just need enough for beer. So I paid cash through college. And it's in the book, they use the bakery example of how simple a bakery can be, but how horrible it can be if you're not running a system. So it does a good job of whatever your business is: windows, gutters, bakery, but then after that, you can take deeper dives, because they have the Emyth Architect and all the others I've read, to just always be learning. And everyone has different nuggets.
I think that's the key, always be learning for all of us. And that's what I've noticed about the clients I've worked with, is that they really understand there's no point in time when they're done learning. And perhaps, Devon, you're the same, but on any given week, on Monday, I'll talk to a business owner who says, Dom, we're at about $1 million right now, but life will be different when we're at 2 million. And then on Tuesday, I meet a company and they're like, Dom, we're about $2 million right now, but I can't wait for us to be 3 million. Life will be so different. And on it goes. And it's not different. You just have to keep growing no matter where you're at. What were you showing in the picture?
That's my Emyth or EOS binder, just to say perfect. It's just never ending on the whole thing. And we did a vision day yesterday, and we're just really getting into that one. And we came out of the 10-year was 25 by 25, which is 25 million in sales by the year 2025. And there's a whole thing behind that, why we did all that. But I tell you, Tribe, it's like when you're scaling up, is last year we doubled the sales of the year before and lost more money than we've ever have. So you better figure out how you scale together and make that all work, and figure out what you're good at and what you're not good at. And that's what a lot of these platforms will do, is take the personalities out of it at first, set up the business where it needs to be, and then put the right people in those places. I'm really bad at the details. And I've always, I sell 4 different ways to 4 different types of people, that and that's from the old IBM principles. Versatile Selling, a great book for that. That's super simple I'm an expressive. That's great for me because I used to be horrible at selling windows and doors to architects and engineers who, by the way, make what my business goes. They're the secret sauce, is because they're analyticals. Like, they want you to slow down.
Give me
talk about energy factors. And I'm saying, screw it. Just give me the order and let's go get a beer. And you better figure that out. So Versatile Selling, once I've got into these books, I can't help myself but transferring that enthusiasm to others.
Yeah. Well, I love it. You sound like the Denver version of me.
Us entrepreneurs love to chatterbox together, don't we?
We do. Well, listen, this has been a great interview. I think there's already been a lot of learning here for our listeners on this side. And one thing that we haven't said, we talked about
Hey, Canada, you guys are more like Colorado even more now with the green industry. We're not the only ones. You know what's funny about that is where I'm sitting right here. So Colorado obviously was one of the early adopters of the whole.
Yeah.
And so I bought this building right before they legalized the marijuana in Colorado. And this street was called Tile Row, it has all these big granite and all kinds of suppliers like me on it.
Yeah.
And now around me all these buildings are boarded up with the windows taken out instead of really kick-ass windows put in like mine. And they're all full of marijuana plants.
Oh, they're grow-ups.
So all the business of it's been Colorado. We'll see how the pendulum swings with people like Canada, eh? Yeah.
Canada, eh? Well, I'll tell you what, the pot in the workplace is actually a big thing. I interviewed for the podcast Keith Graves, and he's an ex-narcotics officer who now travels the country educating business owners on what to do about the changing drug legislation and how to talk about it at your toolbox talks, the Monday, Wednesday, Friday meeting when you're talking to your floor crew, because it's a serious concern. There's a safety concern there. When somebody says, you can't tell me what to do on my own private time, I can smoke weed or have an edible on Sunday night, even though I need to work the next day. Or I think I can smoke up at lunch. And that's actually not the case. So Keith Graves is going to be walking us through how to script that and what to say to our team. But yeah, Colorado is one of the first ones. California is another one. I live in British Columbia, Canada. We're definitely at the head of the wave on that here.
Cool.
Yeah. Hey, how do people get in touch with you if they want to find out more about Mountain View Windows and Doors? Because we've got lots of window and door manufacturers who listen, but also people of all construction walks are on this. How do we reach you?
I've really close to social media, and LinkedIn has just been great for story branding our personal brand. So, there's links to all my businesses there. So I would just look me up on LinkedIn's. And, the thing is be smart about when you connect on LinkedIn, when you say that. And once you get out there and start getting your name out there, I get so many connections, and I just click them off if they're just a copy and paste another big sales pitch.
Right.
Just say, loved hearing you on Dom's podcast, and I'll connect with you. So that would be my call to action is, let's connect on LinkedIn if you think we're from the same cut from the same cloth and can help each other out.
Yeah. Well, Devon, thank you so much, and I say thank you on behalf of everybody who's listening or watching the video, because we need the energy that you bring to these kinds of podcast interviews for sure. We got us jumping in our seats here, and I love having you on the show. So, folks, that's Devon Tilly. Make sure that you go check him out there. He certainly knows a lot about what he's talking about, and he'll be fun to watch in the future. And then the Art of Construction podcast is a massive podcast in the construction industry. And if you're listening to this podcast, you might as well subscribe to his as well, because you're going to learn different things on Devon's than you do on mine, and vice versa. So,
yeah, come join the tribe. We're all one big tribe. Let's crush it together, huh?
Yeah, perfect. All right, Devon, have a great day. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, cheers, man. Thank you.
See ya.